I'd like to call our January 9th school committee meeting to order. You all please rise and join me in the salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Remain standing for a moment of silence, asking divine intervention, but I believe Mr. Superintendent has a remembrance.
I'd like to keep in mind the family of Roseanne Reddy, and Roseanne as well has passed away, and she retired in June of 17. She's been with us for about 26 years, and 19 of those years as a paraprofessional at Snug Harbor, and then on to Point Webster and Broad Meadows. Please keep her and her family in your hearts.
Thank you. Mr. Superintendent, can you call the roll?
Mr. Andronico. Present. Mr. Bergoli.
Present.
Mr. Diamichis. Present. Mr. Gattro. Present. Mrs. Hubley.
Present.
Mrs. Lebo is not going to be here this evening. And Mayor Coe.
Present. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, number one, is approval of the minutes. Have a motion? Motion by Mrs. Hughley, second by Mr. Andronico. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Next item on the agenda is the open forum. Anyone that wishes to speak, up to 4 minutes, please come to the podium. Please give your name and address.
Hello, my name is Diane McDonald. I'm at 11 Farrell Street in Quincy. I would like to wish you all a Happy New Year. You may remember me from last year. I came and I am the president of the Quincy Choral Boosters. We support the choral programs throughout the Quincy Public Schools, and we're willing to help and to help support them in their many performances and helping the program to thrive. So we've been acting as a group to try and raise funds to help support their field trips. They do the parks competition at the end of this year. And as a group, we've been raising some funds for that to help assist them with that. But some of the other things that we're looking into is how we can help build the program. And one of the things that's glaring in looking at us in the face is the fact that at the high school level, we have one choral teacher who goes between both high schools. And this is really impacting the high school programs. If you haven't seen the middle schools and what they've been doing there, you really should, because there is so much talent in this city, and these kids are doing such a great job. The teachers are doing a really fantastic job. But when you get to the high school level, there's one teacher bouncing between two schools. And then at that point, he can only service Quincy High School for the first 2 periods of the day. Freshmen are coming in, and they have to do the freshman seminar. So there's only 1 period they can take chorus, and that's their only opportunity to sing. There are no extracurriculars after school because, again, we have the one teacher going back and forth between the 2 high schools. He's going to do one at North, or he's going to do one at Quincy. As it is, he's currently doing a select program at both high schools, which they're fantastic. I don't know if you've heard them, but they're fantastic. But that's all he's able to do. And he doesn't have the capacity to support either of the musical programs at the theater level. He can't assist on those either. So as a group, we will be asking, it's early in the year, so we're hoping that you can consider looking at the budget this year and possibly allocating some money to help support the choral program at the high school level to give our kids the well-rounded education and support they deserve. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm sorry, I would stick around, but I have to leave. My son's playing a hockey game at Quincy High, so thank you.
Anybody else for open forum? Seeing none, we'll close that portion of the meeting. On to the superintendent's report.
Very good.
Dr. Christopher.
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year to everyone. Start off by wishing our Lions Club speech contest is this evening, and we have 7 of our high school students involved in that, and from North Quincy High School, we have Ben DeBishop and Eliza Delia, Sam Wang, and Patricia Samaku. And I want to congratulate them and wish them the best. Quincy High School, Annabelle Lee, Isabel Carrie and Taylor Bridges are also there, so good for them, and we wish them obviously the best of luck. Project 351, again, this year will be on January 19th at the State House with our grade 8 ambassadors from Atlantic, Abigail Coughlin, and from Broad Meadows, Mallory Removitz, from Central, Madeline Barza, and Point Webster, Isabel Carenci, and Sterling, Calencia Agioma. And these names challenge me a bit, but I want to congratulate them, and this is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for them, as well as our teachers will also be there with them. So I want to thank them for their consistent support. We'll have our ambassadors here at our next meeting on January 23rd so they can share their experiences with you. The partnership of Quincy Police Department and Quincy Public Schools continues, as I explained or shared at the last meeting. Safety and security training for North Quincy, Quincy High School in the Bowles Building with Mike DeRicchio and the officers and their dogs are doing training as much as possibly they can with Mike leading the initiative. So we'll continue to do that and continue to let you know how much growth we have with our department and with the training that happens. Also, the budget of the grant with the Quincy Police Department that we will be beginning to implement, planning right now and implement the panic alarms at every building, and we're beginning to work with our principals on that for locations, and we'll let you know exactly what's going on with that. But another really wonderful opportunity for us with the mayor and the chief, as well as, again, Mike working with officers from the Quincy Police Department. So we're really excited about that. Also want to thank the mayor for finding out of the budget funding for cameras, for some of the replacement cameras, as well as maintenance of some of the cameras that our principals are talking about. And we're talking to IT about that, but the mayor has taken that on, and we thank him for his support. Parent academies are at your places January to May, another 8 academies in January 22nd, a very important academy that we have for K-5 parents of math. And I think that that would be a great, it's a wonderful opportunity because the Greg Pang, the person that's coming in, the speaker that's coming in is really nationally known. And I think it's a great opportunity for so many of our parents. As well, we do that homeschool connection from the system perspective. We also do it from a site perspective, and I want to thank the principals and assistant principals and teachers for following the principal's path, their principal's path in family engagement and family community with this homeschool connection. So many of our principals are hosting, with their teachers, by the way, hosting so many events at our sites to keep that homeschool connection alive and well. So we're really very appreciative of the efforts they're making. Our SLT, of course, does an absolutely incredible job. Middle school volleyball championship was held on Saturday. Looked a little bit like organized chaos, but it was unbelievable. I want to thank Kevin Mahoney for his leadership as the athletic director for the middle school component of athletics. He did an excellent job. Our principals, of course, other administrators, assistant principals that are there. So we had about 140 of our students participate on Saturday afternoon. And nothing's better than that. To have that opportunity, to have them with us is really a great thing. And what we did last year before, was we found out that, with volleyball, there were cuts going on, like the younger of our students weren't having the opportunity, so we added a junior varsity component. So again, about 120 of our students competed this afternoon at Central Middle School. So the more, the merrier, and I want to thank people that are involved in it and organizing these wonderful opportunities for our kids. Our partnership newsletter is at your places. I want to thank Keith Segala, as always, and Janice Erler for their hard work. Coming up, we have a Matter of Heart, which we've done before, which offers so much for our grade 8 and 10 students, as well as our parents. Grade 5 Student Council Leadership also is coming up. Read Across America, Credit for Life, Annual Partnership Recognition Breakfast. So it comes on pretty quickly. So if there's any way you can participate in any of those activities, you're more certainly than welcome. Aspen 25 is also at your places from Mr. Segala, offering opportunities that we're taking in Aspen, initiatives, a lot of information about parent evening coming up, and then state reporting, and so many other items. So I want to thank you for Aspen 25. And with that, we thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Superintendent. Next item on the agenda is other business. We have the Veterans Stadium transfer that I know there's a lot of discussion in subcommittee, so it's time for vote. I entertain a motion. Motion by Mr. Begoli, second by Mrs. Hewley. Be a roll call vote. And this again would be the language agreed upon that was drafted by the city solicitor that ensures the school department continues to get first preference for events at the stadium. On the motion, Mr. Guttrow.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This came before us, I think, at least 6 weeks ago, maybe 8 weeks ago, and I appreciate the support in Policy Committee for the language change regarding the transfer of Veterans Stadium to the city from the school committee, transfer control of Veterans Stadium to the city from the school committee. At that time, and in subsequent meetings, I asked for 3 items as backup to give the committee assurances that school scheduling is a priority. To date, that information has not been provided despite 6 weeks to do so. Therefore, I intend to vote no.
On the motion, anybody else? It was my assumption that once the language went into the vote that you agreed upon, that solved the issue. Because your concern seemed to be that the park department continued to provide schools first preference at the stadium. So I didn't think there was any more information needed where it was part of the vote. That would be part of the vote and the acceptance as far as the Park and Recreation Board. So, and just a reminder for purposes of the public, I know we've talked about this quite a bit. It has been the tradition, the policy of the Park and Recreation Board, which is made up of 9 members, one of which is a school committee member, that schools come first. And we have Adams Field, Richard McCoy, Varsity Field, Creedon, all kinds of fields across the city that our school sports use, and we've never seemed to have an issue in that regard. It continues to be a tradition that is followed. And once the language is put in by the solicitor to kind of put a little highlight on that, that was certainly satisfactory. Mr. Begoli.
Yeah, just correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Guttrow. I think what you were looking for was the protocol that was established years ago, and whether or not it was in writing. Is that what you're referring to, in terms of how things happen, how it comes to the board, and how it's spoken to, and who gets preference, etc.? Is that what you're referring to?
Are you speaking as a park and rec appointee? Is that what you're saying? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, because I'm going to go on with that. I'm just asking.
Is that what you're? Well, I mean, you just voted on the meeting minutes. It was reflected in the meeting minutes what the ask was. That we just from the last school committee meeting. There were 3 items. One of them was reflected in the last, and the others were reflected in the other meeting minutes.
Well, the outgoing park director, recreation director, spoke to that the other night, and he's researching as far back as 1963 to try to find language that was put in place, and still looking for that language. So it's not that it's being ignored, it's just hard to find right now.
Anybody else on the motion? Mr. Secretary, call the roll, please.
Mr. Andronico,
Yes.
Mr. Begoli,
Yes.
Mr. Demichis,
Yes.
Mr. Guttrow, Mrs. Hughley,
Yes.
Mrs. Lebo is absent. Mayor Koch?
Yes. Motion passes. Next item on the agenda under new business. Let's see. Superintendent, new business, Quincy Public Schools initiatives updates.
Yeah, if I could, I neglected our Inspire, so you're uninspired right now. But we can do that next time we cover that next time. So you didn't remind me, Mr. Mayor.
No, I did not.
I'm shocked. Right, but maybe Maura can touch on some of the things that were in Inspire. So thank you.
Hopefully I can be inspirational.
Sure you can.
It's so nice to see everybody, and I'm glad to report on the Substance Use Prevention Week, which started last week. But I really want to point out that Mayor Koch's week has turned into really a full year of programming and prevention. The mayor has been so generous. His generosity has led to more and more programming, so we have really benefited. And I know that's a genuine passion and priority for the mayor, as it is for the people in the buildings and for the school committee, to help our students make those healthy decisions. And we started actually back in October with the SAD Summit, and we're all aware of the SAD Summit, where North Quincy and Quincy High School were present with Braintree High. So that kind of was a kickoff. And then the SAD chapters have been working really hard at creating events, and during the week of last week, January, they kicked off the Substance Use Prevention Week by acknowledging the mayor's support, and then doing announcements. Every bell, they talk about myths and facts of substance use, particularly vaping, marijuana use, and alcohol use. They've created bulletin boards. We had 2 major presentations, one for grade 9 and one for grade 10. Grade 9 was Rob Hackinson, who is actually a magician. I know that might sound a little corny for 9th graders, but he's actually very interactive, very funny, but really promoted healthy decision-making, responses for refusal skills, and brain development and the impact of substances around there. So the kids really responded to him, to his excellence. And then we had Mikey Fallon, who has presented in the past. Some of you have seen Mikey Fallon. Mikey Fallon really comes from a place of acceptance and inclusion for everyone. He asks kids to forgive themselves for the things that they may think about themselves, to have positive self-esteem, and how to get help if they're struggling with decision-making, substance abuse, self-harm or anything like that. So kids really respond to him. He does a number of characters. He's very engaging. He's a psychologist by trade, but he's also an actor. So he does a number of characters to engage kids. They're very responsive. Kids stay afterwards to speak with him. And they also, some kids process the presentation with guidance staff and the health interventionists. So really powerful, powerful stuff. So when we're talking about substance use prevention, and we're talking about, and you've heard me say this before, about really helping kids feel good, feel connected, feel like they belong, feel like, you know what, I have a peer group that's going to help me make those good decisions. So that happens all year long. So for instance, it's even kind of gone to the middle schools. So when we're kicking off all these presentations at the high schools, we're including the middle schools. So Improbable Players is coming tomorrow for our entire grade 7. We've had Drug Story Theater, which the mayor's office helped support earlier in the year. So we're going to continue on with our activities and our events. We're going to have prom awareness events in May, another SAD Summit. The list just goes on and on and on. Rebecca Fiddler's coming back. She has been back, and she's doing small group interventions. She's doing professional development. So we're very lucky and very supported, and I just wanted to say thank you to the mayor once again, and we look forward to the upcoming events.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mara. But in fairness, we should be thanking Mara for the great work she does. I know there's some incredible passion on this issue from guidance counselors, the nurse's office, the health interventionists, and other teachers. But Mara kind of brings it all together and leads the charge, so thank you for all you do for the kids.
Maura, I just want to say thank you as well, and thank you to Mayor Koch for all the support that you've given to this initiative. One thing I did want to touch upon is that you mentioned that you're already starting to put in safeguards against vaping in schools. Last month in December, the federal government declared vaping a national epidemic amongst young people, and the fact that we're already starting to implement programs to educate our high school students, our middle school students about, it's not just water in there, it's really dangerous, and we should be on the lookout for it. I just wanted to say thank you for staying ahead on the curve on that.
Superintendent?
Very good. I'd like to have Erin Perkins come up and get some wonderful educators with us this evening to share in the presentation. And I want to thank them for being here. And before Erin begins, I just want to make sure, Emily Lugo didn't feel well today, not that she's somewhere else, I didn't imagine that. She gets better soon, so thanks.
Good evening. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be here with you tonight and to have this opportunity to highlight some of the work we've been doing in the elementary school in the area of science. Tonight we are going to specifically focus on the Grade 5 Science Initiative that was started this year. Before I turn this presentation over to my colleagues that are joining me here tonight, I would like to remind you of what has been happening with science in Quincy Public Schools over the past few years. First, the Department of Education adopted, as you may remember, new science standards in April of 2016. The district began working with our science teams on the transition to the new standards actually prior to the spring adoption. Since that time, we have updated our curriculum maps, designed lessons, and developed curriculum with the help of our amazing teachers, many of whom are here tonight. This year, thanks to your support and the support of the superintendent, we have adopted a brand new set of materials called Pearson Elevate in grades 3 to 5, which we are very excited about. In addition to the materials, this fall we also began working on a grade 5 science initiative with our science-focused teachers that you will hear more about this evening. So as we begin to make changes with our curriculum and programs within the Quincy Public Schools, it is important to remember that our work is aligned with our district goals, our mission, and our district improvement plan. As we have done with all of our initiatives in the past, any work we do, we start by including our teachers in the decision-making process. As a district, we believe strongly in the distributive model of leadership and feel that the most effective change occurs when we are listening to our teachers, principals, and educational staff members. This is why, when we began working this fall on the Grade 5 Science Initiative, we immediately invited in a design team who are here with me tonight, and Ed will introduce you to in a few moments. We are so fortunate, on this next slide, to have so many excellent teams and initiatives that are happening in Quincy Public Schools throughout every area. It speaks to the hard work, leadership, and dedication of our teachers and administrators who participate on these teams and are constantly striving to improve the work that we do for students and families of Quincy. This year, as I mentioned earlier, we are really happy to include the Grade 5 Science Initiative to this chart. And with that, I will turn it over to Ed Smith, STEM Team Administrator, who will begin to explain what this initiative is all about.
Thanks, Erin. Good evening. After looking at the district MCAS data, we set our goal for the 2018-2019 school year, and our elementary goal is posted on the screen here. During the 18-19 school year, teachers will continue to implement the new STE standards and prepare students for the spring 2019 Next Generation MCAS by providing opportunities for students to design and conduct investigations, create or use scientific models, and analyze data to gain a deeper understanding of the content standards in science and engineering practices. In the fall, district administrators and science teachers started to brainstorm action steps that would help achieve this goal in supporting and promoting elementary science. As elementary science action steps were created, we compiled a list from 13 schools, all teaching elementary science, and found over 75 different action steps that included in-school and extended day activities, strategies, and programs. Some examples include, from Beechwood, teachers would develop inquiry-based curriculum units that align with the 2016 STE standards. From Bernazzani, students will participate in weekly hands-on investigations. From Marymount, after-school activities will promote opportunities for students to engage in STEM activities. And from Snug Harbor, students will complete a science and social studies project and research an assigned country with student-guided research questions from science and social studies curriculum. Throughout the district, many common science-y terms were included, including science, technology, engineering, inquiry, and hands-on. From the common terms in the district action steps, our Grade 5 Science Initiative Wordle was created, as you see on the screen, and we also found some other terms such as public speaking, writing proficiency, collaboration, motivation, and self-confidence, all within the science action steps. We'll go to the next slide. This year, a new elementary science design team was created to define and develop a new grade 5 science initiative, Science Showcases. And on the team, you can see we have Patrice Healy, a teacher from Bernazani, Peter Dion, the Bernazani principal, Tom Mullen from Point Webster, grade 5 science teacher, and Taylor Dennehy from Montclair. Here with Erin and I tonight to share some more information about this initiative, our Beechwood principal, Janet Loftus, from Wollaston, grade 5 teacher, Catherine O'Brien, from Parker, grade 5 teacher, Katie Welch, and last but not least, I'll turn it over to Courtney Mitchell, the assistant principal at Sterling Middle School.
Thank you, Ed. Good evening. When our team met, a new action step was created for all elementary schools. The team took their work with the goal and action steps and put them into motion. And at the end of trimester 2 and 3, students will have the opportunity to present all of their hard work and knowledge of science, technology, and engineering at their site's Science Showcase. Through projects, students will be able to demonstrate their learning of the STE frameworks. This showcase will allow students to work through and build upon many skills they already exude, like critical and creative thinking skills, solving challenging problems, improving research, writing along with public speaking skills. This experience will lead to increased student motivation, engagement, and self-confidence. And for our timeline for grade 5 initiative, the science initiative is off to a great start so far. The design team met and we narrowed down our plans and ideas in November. Next was our first grade 5 system planning meeting in late November. The implementation of our science curriculum began in December, and teachers will continue working with their students on their first showcase in March. At the completion of this showcase, teachers will continue their curriculum and initiative work, and they will end the year with a science showcase in June. In order to support our teachers throughout this process, the design team has scheduled 2 system grade 5 planning meetings. At these meetings, teachers meet with their grade 5 colleagues and administrators. They consist of planning, collaborating, and brainstorming great ideas. In addition to our timeline, the district is excited to introduce science map assessment to students in grades 4 through 7. In past years, students took the map assessment in math and reading, and they continue to do so. But this year, thanks to Dr. Cristofaro, Madeline Roy, and Aaron Perkins, we have been able to add science to our assessment calendars. Students in grades 4 to 7 have completed the fall session of their science map assessment already, and they will take the science map again in March and May. And as a district, we look forward to looking at these scores and using this data to help drive classroom instruction. For our discussion points, the design team immediately began brainstorming and came up with several creative ideas. These ideas also raised a few questions in planning. Some of the questions included: how long should it take students to prepare? How will this be communicated to parents and guardians? The design team worked together to answer these questions as best we could, and we decided that most answers to these questions will remain up to the individual school and what best suits their staff and students. Our schools will continue to work on the format of their showcase, and throughout the city, showcases may look very different at each site. Overall, each school continues to prepare students by using elements of hands-on research, writing, and technology. As we continue to plan and move towards our first showcase, we will make adjustments as necessary and continue to collaborate and make our first science showcase a success. Next, I'd like to introduce Janet Loftus, who will discuss the key elements of showcases.
Thank you, Courtney. So after the team came together and went through the discussion points that Courtney just discussed, we came up with some key elements to have some consistency across all the schools and across all the 5th grades. So the first thing to provide this consistency was to make sure that the content is flexible per school but was driven by 5th grade standards. One of the items that comes up when teaching 5th grade science is that MCAS test does cover standards in prior grades. For this showcase, we are continuing to stay with the 5th grade standards. Our curriculum maps that have been developed cover physical and earth science in trimester 2, so that would be the focus for our first showcase in March. Life science and technology and engineering are covered in the 3rd trimester, so that would be the main focus for the 3rd one, well, final one. Schools with multiple grade 5 science teachers would align their showcase together. Every school, the face of every school is very different in terms of size and number of teachers. So we are asking across the school systems that in each school, the team of science teachers aligns what they're doing. In regards to assessing this showcase, we are thinking that it is not necessarily designed for an assessment. The assessment pieces will happen in the instruction. As the curriculum is being covered leading up, that is when the true assessments do take place. However, teachers can use guiding rubrics to keep it consistent across all the classes and to guide the children. We want most of the work to be done during the school day by the children. This is a student-driven project. It promotes collaboration within the classroom, and it is truly student-led. And that is what should be seen when we go to these showcases in March. Because the schools look so different in terms of size, the scheduling will vary from school to school. In the timeline that was just shown, the showcase there's a range of dates to have it. Once we do know those dates for each individual school, we will put those out there so that people can attend if wanted. We want all students to be included. This was an item that was brought up by our design team. As you know, a lot of students are pulled out of classrooms for various reasons, mostly for support services, whether it's English language learners, students on educational plans. We want all students in 5th grade to be a part of this and to feel good about this program. It will take some collaboration between support staff as well as classroom teachers, which they do year-round anyways. So this will be something that no 5th grade child will be left out of. So what does this look like? This was our biggest question. What do we view this to be? We have a few examples of what this will look like from school to school. It will vary. We have examples of STEM challenges, a biome fair, science centers, and a science show and tell. So the first example of a STEM challenge is something that was done and has been done at the Snug Harbor Summer Program. It is a STEM program for Snug Harbor students that is project-based. As you will see on the slide, there are some photos. They cover bridges, automobiles, roller coasters, amongst many other things. It's an integration of technology, environmental changes that affect a lot of these things, and problem solving. And the children have to collaborate in order to design their bridges to stay, to hold for an earthquake that does come. Students built roller coasters to see how fast they could go, what they could dream up among the parameters. They had bridges, they built cars, how they could get the fastest car based on friction and tunnels. Other teams focused on designing and constructing freestanding bridges, traveling balloon cars, and even more roller coasters. The product was the children problem solving, and then looking at their product to say, this is what came of it. The friendly competition brought out a lot of great student-driven ideas, and I think that the children really loved the challenge, taking all of these environmental factors, the past, the present, to be able to design. So our STEM challenge would be one example of how teachers could use their showcase to promote all that they have learned.
Good evening. I'm Catherine O'Brien. I'm a science and social studies teacher at Wollaston. And another example of a showcase that we have is the Biome Fair. The Biome Fair was actually a project that was passed down to me when I entered Wollaston School about 5 years ago. And I've adapted this to kind of go along with the change of the curriculum standards as well as more resources to technology. So the Biome Fair encompasses many standards in one project, and through research and framework curriculum, students will demonstrate what they've learned about their biome. In case you don't know what a biome is, basically what it is, it's a group of ecosystems that have similar characteristics. So similar locations, similar plant life, animal life, similar food chains, and we also talk a lot about how humans affect those biomes and those ecosystems. Each group's demonstration may include a technology component like Google Slides, as well as a visual representation like a poster board. This is a great way for students to work together to complete a task as well as a goal with one another. In Wollaston, this is a project that not only the students look forward to every year, but the parents as well. It's a great way to have parents come in and see what their students are learning in the classroom, and it gives the students a great opportunity to show off what they've learned, and it's motivating, engaging. Literally like the first day of school in 5th grade, students are always asking, when's the biome fair? When's it gonna be? I can't wait, I hope I get the tundra, you know? So it's really exciting time for the students. They're actually really kind of upset that I pushed back to trimester 3, but it is something that they can look forward to in life science in a few months.
Thanks, Catherine. With the transition to the new standards, we now have disciplines of life science, earth and space science, physical science, and tech engineering integrated through all grade levels 3 to 8. And the idea of science centers came to us from Montclair teacher Taylor Dennehy, who unfortunately can't be here tonight due to illness. The science centers would be completed at the end of an earth science unit, where groups of 3 to 4 students would be given a specific topic, and they would demonstrate learning by presenting a written component, a technology component, either a simulation or something that's online, a Google Slides presentation, maybe a video clip, and a visual representation, including a poster or a diorama or some kind of a model of a hands-on experiment or test that took place. Examples for a couple of so you've got the disciplines of earth science, life science, physical science, but within earth science you now have units which could be broken up into the centers. One could be the water cycle, the solar system, or weather, and within each of those units, for instance, in the water cycle, students could make a cloud or demonstrate precipitation using sponges or create other diagrams. And the teacher would provide examples that the students could work on within each one of these centers. And at the showcase, you would have all these various centers all within the umbrella of earth science on that day of the showcase.
Hello, everyone. My name is Katie Welch, and I am the 5th grade science focus teacher at Parker. So the idea behind the final of our showcase examples is essentially it's a show and tell. So what that means is it would be a chance to invite parents, the school community, teachers, other peers in the school to come in and see what the science classroom really looks like on a day-to-day basis. So what it would really look like is students working on a task collaboratively. They would already have the background knowledge that they needed, the content would be provided in advance, and the students would feel confident and capable of completing whatever the task is at hand. It would be a task that is already in the curriculum, already in the plans for whatever the concept is that's being covered. They would either have to solve a problem or test something or create something. And in most cases, it might even be something they've done before that they might need to improve upon so that they really have that background knowledge and that confidence to go ahead and focus on themselves. So that way the teacher can take a step back and circulate and be an observer with the visitors in the room, and the students can really be the focus of the showcase. One of the highlights of this example is that it's less preparation for the teacher because it really is just what they would be doing that day. All they would really need to do is prepare the students for the fact that there will be visitors in the room and have their lesson ready to go with the students prepared. And one thing we came up with as a team is that we could provide a list of questions. So it would be questions the teacher would be asking anyway while he or she circulates
That way the students aren't being asked the same question over and over again, so we could have them typed up and parents could come in, take a set of questions and ask the students what they're working on or what they know about whatever it is that they're working on. So similar to a show and tell, which is kind of how we came up with the idea, is it's really just an opportunity for students to share something that they're proud of and confident in talking about. And these are things that they're doing on a daily basis. Students are doing on a daily basis, teachers are doing on a daily basis. And we want to just give our students the opportunity in this showcase to share it with their school communities and their fellow schoolmates.
So as you can see, there are a lot of great examples of what this could look like from school to school. The first one will be in March. The science teachers are all ready and raring to go. I think it's going to be a great opportunity across the board, and the team is really thrilled about it. In supporting this science initiative, we have taken it a step further through our extended day activities. Myself, Ed, and Courtney together coordinate the extended day throughout the city. And typically, every year we do a STEM Saturday program. Sometimes it's run in March, sometimes in April. We came together and we talked about how it's offered to all the city children, and we don't get a huge response the way we would like to see on Saturdays. We would like our numbers to increase. After talking, we decided to provide children an opportunity to go to their home school on a Saturday and to be able to participate in more STEM opportunities in this program. What we'll focus on is students in grades 3 through 5 and then 6 through 8 attending the STEM Academy. They'll work in small groups, still collaborating, still working together for short courses in transportation technology and coding, structural engineering and architecture. And what we will do is we will offer it at every elementary school and every middle school. There will be no issue of we can't get across the city to where it's being held. It really will be in the neighborhoods. So this is a huge opportunity. A huge thanks goes out to Dr. Cristofaro, who has really helped us to drive this. The principals are all on board with this, and it should be an excellent program. The timeline has been set. We are starting to recruit staff and students to fill this, to just give one more opportunity that is equitable across the city to support our STEM initiatives, so that not only within the classroom are they having these opportunities, but as well as outside of their regular school day. That does wrap up our presentation. Are there any questions?
Thank you very much. Any questions? Committee?
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gaspari.
No, I think it's another collaborative effort, and I think the great combination of senior staff and less than senior staff really is a benefit to the school system. And I think when we initially started talking about this initiative, one of about 15 to 20 initiatives we got going in the school system, Erin said to me, I said, well, science teachers, I'm not really sure of all of them or whatever. And all she said was full speed ahead. They're incredible staff, and I think we've found that out, through this initiative, but also through visits to classrooms and what principals say about you every day. So I'm very, very appreciative of the effort. I think it's something that we implement, it's a pilot, we implement, and we'll sustain it, we'll listen and to see where we go from here. But I think it's a great opportunity for our kids in science, in STEM, and we'll continue to work in those Saturday STEM academies. I think will be a success. It's neighborhood driven, and I'm hoping that the teachers at the sites will be the people that we recruit for this. And I think that these kids are going to have a great opportunity, a great experience. So all I can say is thank you very much. Thank you, and full speed ahead. Taylor Dennehy has been, I think she received today, but has pneumonia. But I'm sure that she's probably watching right now, wishing she were at that microphone. But we miss her and we thank her for her efforts as well. Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Ed, as well, Courtney. Janet, thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. Next item on the agenda, we have a gift of $1,900 from the Randy C. Wolf Trust for the benefit of the public schools. Music programs, motion to accept. Motion by Mr. Guttrow, second by Mr. Demetrius to accept the gift with the caveat that a proper acknowledgement of gratitude goes to the trust. All in favor?
Aye.
You have another presentation? It's not on the agenda. Which one? Oh, a separate one underneath, okay. Well, let's vote on the gift. All in favor?
Aye.
You like gifts? All opposed? We're gonna go back up to, sorry about that, the other item under the initiatives. Aaron was hoping we'd keep going.
Well, hello again. So our next presentation is, the focus is to provide you with an update on the work that we've been doing with the MAP assessment. So you've heard us talk about the MAP assessment at a few different meetings now. And so we thought that it was timely at this point. You just heard about how we're very excited about our science implementation. So we thought that this would be a great opportunity to share with you where we are in terms of our implementation of the MAP and our uses. So I'm joined tonight by Bridget Vaughn, the Coordinator of Literacy and English Language Arts, who is behind me, and the Principal of Atherton House School, Robin Morera, and then, of course, Madeline Roy, Senior Director of Curriculum. So the focus, as I briefly mentioned, the focus of this evening's presentation will be to review with you briefly what the MAP is and why we use it. We also want to share with you how it is being used in our buildings by our teachers and principals to inform their instruction, and to provide resources and information on how it has been shared with our families. Go ahead, next one. So I'd like to just start by reminding you just briefly about why we chose the MAP a few years ago now, what the reasons that we decided to go with this type of assessment. So one of the biggest things is that it is timely. So the reports are instant. The minute the student finishes completing the test, the score actually pops right up on the screen. The teachers are able to run reports immediately following that assessment, as are the principals, as is us in the district buildings. So it's a context for student performance. So what that means basically is that because this is a norm referenced assessment, you can compare achievement status and changes in achievement status or growth, which is really what we're focused on in Quincy, over time. And you can also look at students' performance across students that are at the same grade level, so at a comparable stage of the school year. So it's a really great reference point for our teachers and for our administrators. It's audience-specific reports with flexible displays and grouping options, so it's a wide variety of reports, and we're going to talk to you a little bit tonight about the different reports and how we use them. But there's one report in particular that we're going to share with you tonight that we're really excited about, that has been updated on the MAP assessment website, and it's the projected proficiency, which gives us an indicator in the fall and in the winter of how our students could potentially score if they were to take the MCAS test at this moment in time, based on their RIT score, how they would score in the MCAS test. So we're really excited about that report, and we're going to share with you a little bit about how we're using it. In the flexible reporting, so in addition to the reports that are already available online, it's also possible for administrators and teachers to download raw data to be combined with other information such as MCAS scores. So if you want something more than just the standard reports that are available on the MAP website, you can also download that data into an Excel spreadsheet and then manipulate it in any way that you want to and combine any other relevant sources of data so that you have one master spreadsheet. So that's free to us as part of our being a MAP member, and so we use that periodically throughout the year. So now I'm going to turn it over to Bridget.
Good evening, everyone. So I just wanted to talk briefly again about how we're using MAP in Quincy. So all students in Quincy now are taking the reading and math in grades 2 through 7. We're administering the reading, math, and now we're so excited to be administering science as well. And science is administered in grades 4 through 7. We just began that.
There are 3 test occasions per year, in the fall, the winter, and the spring. And we coordinate these with our integrated learning team meetings, so that we can share data and discuss and analyze the data and student performance. As Erin said, the MAP assessments the results are very timely. So this is very different than our MCAS results. Immediately when students take the test and it is completed, the scores are recorded, teachers can look at the data, and principals and district administrators and district leaders. So right away, students that need intervention are targeted, and in addition, some of the reports point right to instructional learning objectives for all students. So teachers can group easily students, and in fact, another report sorts the students into these groups by instructional objectives, so it's pretty amazing. So we can look at the reports in so many different ways. Teachers can look by their class, by individual student. Principals can look at an entire grade in their school, and district leaders, we can look at it by individual student, school, grade, and district as a whole. So as I mentioned, and as we had our presentation on science, as Courtney Mitchell mentioned, that we're administering science this year for the first time. It assesses 3 key domains: life science, earth and space sciences, and physical sciences. What is wonderful about the MAP test in science is that it connects to the instructional areas outlined in the Massachusetts frameworks, the STE frameworks. So not only does it align to the next generation science standards, but connects specifically to our state MCAS test in that area. These results allow vertical teams, just as they would with reading and math, to track performance data, assess grade level trends, and differentiate instruction. And so this is a picture, a visual of the site when you log in and all of the different kinds of reports that are available. It can be pretty overwhelming, so we continue to provide professional development for teachers and administrators on how to analyze this data and which reports show what kinds of data and how it's sorted. So we're going to talk in a minute about we're going to highlight a few that we're finding are very useful, and just give you an example of what they can show. So I'm going to talk a bit about what the teachers can view. They can look at the data for their class, as I said, by individual student in the student profile report. They can look at RIT scores, which is the measurement in math, learning goals, and the projected proficiency. In addition to just looking and analyzing the data and knowing what the instructional objectives are and grouping the students, NWEA also provides teachers with a site called Northwest Educational Association Connections. This is where teachers can log in and have access to so many different kinds of things. So I have some visuals up there. There's a teacher toolkit, which teachers can go to find information that they can share with parents. There are reference charts, Khan Academy resources for math instruction. In the top right, you can see this learning continuum. That's a report where I didn't show any student data there, but if a teacher clicks on one of those, they can see the student names and the scores and what that student is able to learn, ready to learn right at that time for that particular Massachusetts state standard. And so basically the NWEA connection is a whole host of professional learning, videos, tutorials, discussions, blogs, anything from translating the parent guide into different languages to just ways to engage student in the learning process. And I'm going to turn it over to Principal Robin Moreira to talk about the context for student performance.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. So you've seen a lot about how timely the results are for MAP and how the reports are ready for us. They're readily available. So now I'd like to show you how we use those timely results in reports. So at the school level, we meet during each benchmarking period with our integrated learning team or ILT team. So we are currently, as we speak, in the middle of the winter MAP administration. And many schools are planning their winter ILT meetings within the next couple of weeks. So you'll remember that our ILT meetings, we take a look at various sources of data, including DRA, DIBELS, and other classroom assessments. The MAP is a very important and reliable assessment that we are using to assess progress, identify strengths and weaknesses, and make instructional groups during these meetings. At our ILT meetings that are coming up in a few weeks, we will take a look at each student's achievement status and, more importantly, their growth as compared to their fall scores. Based on a child's performance in the fall administration of the MAP, a projected goal is set for each student to be attained by the spring. They also set a projected goal for the winter to ensure that students are on track to meet their end of the year goal. At our meetings, we will look to see if each student has met, or even better, exceeded their winter projected goal, which gives us a good indication of their needs to meet benchmark by the end of the school year. And in a minute, I'll show you a chart that shows just how important a review of that projected growth is, as it may be linked to MCAS expectations. Teachers are also becoming much more familiar and versed with what's available through the NWEA website and the information that they can get from looking at MAP scores and how they can use that information and run reports to make instructional decisions for their students. They are also sharing results with parents, and reports were made available to parents at our Term 1 report card conferences in December. I'm also going to show you in a minute some common reports that are very user-friendly that we have been sharing with parents. We've also started to talk about how we can share this information with students, specifically in the upper grades. We have started sharing this information with students in 4th and 5th grade, for example, looking at growth projections and encouraging students to take their time, use their test-taking strategies. Children are very motivated by seeing their goals and meeting their personal best. So this report on the screen is an example of the student profile report. So what you can see in here, this is actually a 7th grader. It's a little hard to see, but this is a common report that teachers use, and we also may pull this report up when we're meeting with parents. It's an interactive report, so for example, if they click on the blue, that's the math. It can go into their areas of need, their areas of strength. So for example, this child's area of strength in math is geometry, and it gives a better breakdown of the instructional focus. Their area of need is operations and algebraic thinking, and it also, a teacher can then click right on that and get their instructional areas. So for example, the 7th grader for operations and algebraic thinking may need to go back to maybe 6th grade or 5th grade standards and get that access point of where their instructional focus needs to be. Back to the individual strengths, if the student's strength is in geometry, the instructional focus may be to continue to meet proficiency, looking at an 8th grade standard, for example. You'll also see on this report the growth goals. So you will be able to see what the set goal was from the past administration and had they met it. So this student, as a 7th grader, has been taking the MAP for quite a few years, so it pulls up all of the data from the past administration. This is following and sorry if that's out of order. No, that's okay. On that same student growth profile report, also can bring this resource. So this is a new resource that we are looking at this year, and I will add with caution, A study came out this summer, and so NWEA is piloting this linking study where you can see that legend on the right hand of the screen correlating a student's RIT score to MCAS expectations. So again, this is a new linking study that has come out that we are looking at as predictors potentially for MCAS expectations. Prior to this linking study, schools did use a projected proficiency report kind of going along with the legacy MCAS, and we did find that there was strong reliability to a student's performance on the map and how they their achievement level on MCAS. So again, we will look at this with caution, but what it does do is highlight, if you can kind of see that dark black line, this is a student, what grade? 5th grade? 4th. So a student in 4th grade, so you can see the student has taken the map in 2nd grade, in 3rd grade, 3 administration times during those years, and then his or her fall score is there. You want to like wave the mouse on it. But then you can also see that dashed line, that is the student's trajectory or the student's projected growth. So you can see that band that, you know, if this student continues to stay on that trajectory, then it is a strong predictor, then that student would meet expectations on the MCAS. So, you know, this is a good example where we do take a look at those students specifically now, middle of the year, to see, you know, are these students on track to meet their proficiency, exceed their proficiency, and what can we do to help them, give them a bump up if not. You know, it might be a targeted intervention, it might be an invitation to an extended day program. It really allows us to focus on the learning standards of what they need. And then this is another report. This is a student progress report, and again, it's just another way to look at the data that we can share with parents that is very user-friendly, and it, again, you can see that it shows a student's overall progress from all the times that they've taken the map. So it's a little hard to read, but the blue bar there is the student's RIT. So that's broken down, that's a 5th grade report. So the first section is the math, the reading, and then the science. The orange bar is the district mean RIT, and then the yellow bar is the norm grade level mean RIT. And then to the far right there, that dotted blue bar is the student's growth projection. And then over towards the right, you can see throughout the years what the student's projected growth was and what the student's actual growth was. So this is a common report that is made available to parents. This is also just another resource on the WEA website. You know, in addition to these resources, there are also, you know, blogs that parents can go on, or PDFs or other Word documents that kind of explain all of, you know, what is a RIT score, why is looking at projected growth important. That gives parents lots of information about how to read these reports. And I'm now going to turn over to Maddie for next steps and to answer any questions you might have.
The curriculum and assessment team, along with the elementary and middle school principals team, we play a key role in the success of this important assessment initiative. In other words, we have to make sure that our stakeholders are supported and well-trained, and that we can answer clarifying questions throughout the year. We continue to learn ourselves. We pay particular attention to the research provided by the Northwest Evaluation Association. They're the ones who provide us the data and the research. They update their linking studies, for example. We have direct contact with our own liaison from NWEA, as well as a trainer who has worked in our district with our teachers. But most importantly, we need to make sure that we get feedback from our teachers and our students and our principals. So I'm just going to talk briefly in conclusion about our next steps involving our key stakeholders here. So in terms of the teachers, if you recall, we've been rolling this out for a number of years. Mary Frederickson and Erin started this initiative at the elementary level, and it was to great success, so much so that we knew that we needed it at the middle school as well. So we have teachers that are at different continuums in terms of support and training, including our new teachers who we hire year to year, because almost all our teachers are at the point where they are participating in the administration of the MAP. It may be that they're a content teacher for math, English, or science, or they are a specialist, or they are a substitute on that day. So everyone has to be on board. It's very important that as NWEA continues to make a more robust product, that we understand the reports and that the teachers are using certain reports the most effectively throughout the school year, because this is another initiative on top of their daily teaching and assessment. It's also important, we want to continue to improve our parent and guardian communication. So this is the first year that middle school was encouraged to bring the reports out and use them at parent-teacher conferences or at an individual conference or at a team meeting, any time where a student's progress should be talked about. There's a place for the MAP data to be talked about and shared. In terms of our students, you know, we do like to hear what their feedback is. We've already talked with some teachers. We've all participated in the administration, and there are things that we have to keep in mind in terms of the scheduling of the assessments. Are we giving them time for instruction in order to then take a benchmark assessment? What else is going on in the district's assessment calendar so that we can avoid test fatigue? There are also, as you can imagine, those of you who are parents, that you know, engagement or disengagement or motivation in sitting down and taking a test, even on a computer, can play a factor in a child's progress. So these are things we want to stay on top of. And then, of course, supporting our administrators. The MAP assessment, because it's given 3 times a year, it's a natural next step that it's built into our school improvement plans, not just the reporting of the data, but how we're using it, how students are impacted by the support and intervention that we give them. For Principal's Path, grade level meetings and discussing and analyzing the data, we want to support our principals and teachers so they have the time to do that. And of course, the end all is that students receive the support and interventions that they need connected to the reports that we share with teachers. So thank you very much for supporting this very important initiative.
Question, Mr. Guttrow?
Maddie, or Erin, I'm not sure. I think last time you were up here, I asked the same questions. It's an alphabet soup of education policy and administration terms that I'm trying to follow. And are there, did I hear that there are 3 different types of assessment tools that you use, MAP, DRA, DIBBLE? Is that what I heard? Are there more that happen throughout the year?
Those are the
and if so,
primary ones, yeah.
What can you, in 30 seconds or less, try to explain what they are and who they're for? Are they for teachers? Are they for parents? I mean, they're all to assess. What do they, each of them assess, and who gets to see the results again? And I know we had this discussion once, but it's so infrequent that it hasn't absorbed in my...
So we give the MAP assessment, like Maddie said, is for 3 times a year. It's for grades 2 to 7.
2 to 7.
2 to 7, yep. And it is, like, so for instance, the reading assessment, it's more comprehension. We do, and then maybe some, you know, initial decoding, like phonemic awareness skills. And when they're in the younger grades, like the grade 2 kids, get a little bit more, like they actually listen to it on headset, and you know, they get a little bit more of those, like, you know, emerging reading questions, depending on how they're scoring. As they get older, it's definitely more comprehension based. The math, you know, it's kind of a standard math test. Next generation, they're moving, you know, boxes and doing all those kind of things that they'll do on the MCAS. And then now science is new, and another reason that we really are just so happy about the administration of the science is because, number one, it is next generation. So they are answering questions in the way that they will do on the upcoming MCAS that's going to be online for science. And also, you know, for science, our only data points, like actual testing data points that we have are grades 5 and 8, grade 5 and 8. So, you know, so that's a lot for a 5th grade teacher or an 8th grade teacher to own, you know, and we teach science in all of our grades. So this actually gives us some concrete data prior to, you know, students take the test in 5th grade. By the time the teachers, the MCAS testing grade in 5th grade at the end of the year, by the time the teachers get those results, those kids are gone. They're in middle school, you know, or the same thing in 8th grade, they're in high school in many cases. So, you know, so what's really nice is that they'll have this data in 4th grade, in 6th grade, in 7th grade, and they can look and they can say in science, okay, we're struggling in life science. You know, that's our area of weakness. We're really strong in physical science, but we see as a school in grade 4, we have a weakness in physical and life science. So what can we do as a 4th grade team and as a 3rd grade team to kind of help with beefing up that, you know, that area, so that when they get into 5th grade, it doesn't all, you know, kind of fall on that 5th grade teacher, or those, you know, they're trying to fit all of that information in, you know.
And the student progress reports come how many times a year?
So we typically give the student progress reports. They very oftentimes give it if there's a meeting. So if there's a.
So is that new, or has that been instituted for many years?
We did it across the board this year, this fall.
So is it up to the teacher, or is it required by the teacher?
The principals. So I think in elementary school, the principals definitely. All of the principals, you know, made sure that their teachers gave out the reports at the elementary school level.
So is there an email out to parents saying that this assessment happens? Be sure at your parent-teacher meeting to ask about the report. I mean, how do parents know unless the teacher brings it up?
So they were given a copy of the report.
The student?
The parents.
The parents.
At the report card conferences.
At the report card conferences.
Yeah, and the teacher. So we did that on purpose because. We wanted the teachers to be able to explain. We didn't want to, you know, it's as you can see, it's not like it's in a Brit score. It doesn't mean necessarily anything to people that wouldn't, you know. I think it really needs an explanation.
And that was the other word that you defined for the last time, RIT.
Yeah, Rosh Interval Unit.
Everyone knows what that means.
Yeah, so it really needs some explanation.
Yeah.
I think the elementary school staff, the teachers, the principals are much more comfortable, you know, because we've been doing it for quite a few years. Middle school is getting there, so I think I look at Maddie for help on that, or Bridget.
Well, I can say that in addition to just handing out a student progress report, lots of teachers printed out Parents' Guide to Math,
And the parents' guide is just an overall reference sheet, so it explains what everything is, what they're looking at, what the students are being measured.
Can we get a copy of that?
Yes,
in fact. That would be useful. And you can just email us to the superintendent.
Absolutely.
I'd love to see that.
Sure.
And the other two, just quickly, Aaron, the other two, DRA and Dibble, are those for parents, teachers, and do they assess different things?
They do.
Okay.
So the DIBELS assessment is it's basically a total of 3 minutes. So it's a 3-minute assessment. It's a one-on-one assessment. It's given to our students in kindergarten through grade 2, sometimes in grade 3 if you're maybe having a struggling reader and you want to continue to monitor that student's progress. Teachers do sometimes give it in the older grades, but it's a requirement in grades K to 2. So it's a 3-minute test. It's a cold read, what's called a cold read. So students are presented with unfamiliar text that's written at their grade level, and the teacher times it, and the teacher is taking like a running record as the student is reading. So you're looking for fluency and accuracy. There's no comprehension questions, so which is why we brought in the map. There's no questions on can a student rhyme, do they have like underlying phonological skills, There's nothing like that, which is why we really wanted a more in-depth assessment like the MAP. But it is a really quick indicator of is the student able to read accurately and at the rate that is you would expect for a student of that age. So it's a different type of assessment. It's more of a screening, I would say, tool. It's definitely for teachers. We use it for to help us decide literacy interventions. It's definitely one of the tools that we use for that. It is shared with parents at things like report card conferences. There's no report, but they will give parents information or on IEPs, things like that.
Is
It's
it
not the type of
an
report.
as needed, or does everyone take it?
I think in the grades K1 and 2, they share it. I would say pretty frequently, maybe not 100% of
So
the
you
time,
do it every
but
year or multiple?
oh, they do it 3 times a year. 3 times a year. Yep. And again, it's 3 minutes per student.
And the last one, DRA.
DRA is the Developmental Reading Assessment. So that's primarily given to students at the end of kindergarten and then first grade, right? First grade. And so that is, again, another reading assessment. This one does have comprehension questions, and they're reading a short story, and it gives the students an instructional, the teachers an instructional level. So what it really helps with is like, if I'm the classroom teacher and I need to know like what decodable level text to give my students. So maybe the student isn't able to access the grade level text. I need to provide them with a different level text. I can tell, approximately what level my student is reading at by using an assessment like the DRA. Now, it is not standardized. It's a criterion referenced assessment, so a little bit different than things like the DIBELS and the MAP, which are standardized assessments, norm referenced assessments. The DRA is a criterion, so it's more like, did the student do these many things this many times? That's loosely associated with a grade level. It's not normed, like the MAP is. So if that makes sense. So those are, I think those are pretty much the big 3 that in the elementary school that we give.
And there are assessments at the other middle and high school as well?
They primarily give the MAP. They have benchmark assessments that go with their like units and their text that they give, and that's unit assessments, I'd say, right? Yeah. Unit assessments at the upper grades and middle school.
And final question, are these required by the state or the feds, or do they just suggest use an array of tools and then we, as a school system, elect, as a leadership team, these are the assessments that we think will best measure? How are those all chosen?
So they're not required
By
anyone, but I think it is good practice. So to have information so that you can intervene, or advance, if you need to. So these are assessments that, like for instance, the MAP assessment at the time, Mary Fredrickson and I brought in all different people, all different assessments. We looked at the value of each one, the kind of data it was going to give us, the ease of use for teachers, for principals. So we did quite a bit of research before we decided on the MAP assessment. The DIBELS, I think it's a pretty standard one that it's quick, it's easy, it's inexpensive. I think that I would say that most districts, across the country pretty much give the DIBELS, definitely Massachusetts. Same with the DRA. It's quick, it's easy, it's inexpensive, it's reproducible. So it's, so these are just kind of common assessments. You buy one kit and, people can use it for years and years and years and years until they update it. So I think, those are kind of standard assessments that I would say that probably most districts also use.
And are we under contract for any of these, or we just elect each year to do it?
The MAP assessment, we are under contract, and the, which we renew, every year, every couple of years. I'm not sure where we are in our contract right now. I'd have to look. But the DIBELS, we renew every year. You don't have to renew the test. There's a website that helps us, keep track of the scores. It's through the University of Oregon, and so you just pay the fee to enter the student data. So so that you can put it up on, the computer and kind of keep track electronically of the scores. But you don't have to use that website necessarily. You could do it by hand if you really wanted to. So it's just the fee for using the website.
Excellent. Thank you for the refresher insight. I appreciate it.
That's it. Anybody else? Questions for Aaron and the team? Well, thank you again, Aaron and the team. A lot of information there. We appreciate it.
Thank you all very much. Another great initiative, and a great pilot to see where we go and how we do. And I want to thank Robin and Bridge certainly, and Aaron for the work that you do. Because Aaron just talked for more than 30 seconds and taught us so much, I think the great thing is as much as Aaron knows, so do our other experts. And I think that they share that on a very regular basis with colleagues, as well as so many of our teachers. So we thank you very, very much. Thanks.
Okay, next item on the agenda, the foreign language program, Mrs. Julie.
Thank you. I'd like to move for referral to the Teaching and Learning Subcommittee, review the foreign language programs, and specifically languages taught and the grades taught in.
This motion's been made, second by Mr. Andronico. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you. Item D, overnight travel. Motion by Mr. Begoli, second by Mr. Demetrius. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Next item, overnight travel in-state, Quincy High to Harvard and Rome.
Second.
The motion is seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Any additional business? Seeing none. Communications, we have the upcoming school committee meetings listed. January 23rd, February 6th, March 6th, March 20th, all at 6:30 here at the Coddington Building. And the upcoming subcommittee meetings, there has been some revised dates here. All of these dates, of course, are posted. January 30th, policy at 6, quarterly budget and finance at 6:15, and teaching and learning at 6:30 here at Coddington. Any other communications? Mr. Gattro.
I don't know if these are supposed to be 30 days out or 60 days out. So on my calendar that you sent out, I have February 27th is teaching and learning. That's not reflected on this paper, but it's on my calendar. Is that still happening? And then there was a March 13th and a March 27th meeting that aren't on the paper, but we get the calendar invite. I just want to make sure they're happening too. Thank you.
Reports of subcommittees, facility security and transportation, Mr. Demetrius.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to apologize to the committee for my absence and being unable to submit these minutes. So the Facilities, Security, and Transportation Subcommittee met with Dr. Christopher, Commissioner Hines, and Susan Condon to discuss air quality concerns in the basement level of Wollaston Elementary. Dr. Christopher began the meeting by reviewing every step taken at the beginning of the school year to address the concerns raised by Wollaston's literacy teacher, Janet Baglioni, about a possible mold issue that developed over the past summer. Dr. Christopher then introduced Ms. Condon, who is a retired Associate Commissioner of Public Health and Director of Environmental Health Programs for the state of Massachusetts. As a consultant to the city of Quincy, she observed the Department of Public Health while they performed comprehensive air quality testing of all the floors at Wollaston. The results of these tests were mainly within the recommended levels for indoor air quality within any public building in the state. Ms. Condon made some recommendations to us, such as purchasing monitoring equipment which would allow us to monitor circulation throughout all the schools on a more frequent basis. All these minutes in full can be read on the Quincy Public School website, and I submit them to the committee.
Any questions? Mr. Gattro.
Mr. Mayor, whether we take this up at a subsequent meeting or in a committee meeting, I think the state results weren't in at the time of that subcommittee meeting, so when they come in, it would be useful to see them and talk about them and maybe get an update on any communication for school-specific health and wellness committees that might be talking about air quality issues. Thank you.
Mr. Demetrius.
to piggyback off of what Mr. Guttrow said, I think also Mr. Guttrow made a request to Mrs. Condon about possibly getting a written
Yes,
proposal, just so we can have that to review.
and we're in contact with her, and as soon as we get that in, we'll do that to school committee.
Should we follow up on that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All set? Okay. Nothing else, no executive session. Motion by Mrs. Hubley to adjourn. All those in favor, aye. Opposed, the ayes have it. Adjournment. Happy New Year, everybody.
Thank you all very much, thanks.